The Stardust was a big venue located in Artane in North Dublin. At about 1:40 in the morning on Friday the 13th of February 1981, a small fire was spotted. Within 20 minutes, the whole venue was absolutely engulfed in flames. And tragically, the result was that 48 kids really were killed in that fire.
Caroline McHugh, Donna Mahon, James Miller, Susan Bowman, David Lawson, Kathleen Muldoon, George O'Connor, Brendan O'Mara, Martina Keegan, Mary Keegan.
I looked up at the ceiling and I could see smoke coming across the ceiling, and the DJ made an announcement for everyone to stay calm, don't panic, it's under control. Literally 6 foot away from the door, and the whole lot started coming down on top of us. It was all dripping down on our face and our hair, and there was people there and you could actually see them in a ball of flames. And I remember just saying, oh God, please help us. It was 2.5 weeks in intensive care and a life support machine, and my mother and father was coming up. They were changing from their black clothes into their ordinary clothes after burying my 2 sisters. The doctor had told my mother and father not to say anything to me because I was in such a bad way that had they told me that my 2 sisters was dead, I'd have went into shock. It's like you're still trapped in 1981.
What we've learned in the intervening years is that it was a tinderbox of flammability and combustible materials, and the bereaved families had always believed that there was mismanagement, that there was breaches of planning laws which had contributed to the deaths of their children.
My 2 parents were in their early 20s. They died that night. I was only 17 months old. I could never speak about this without breaking down. You know, a lot of people say, where's the baby? They forget I grew up, you know. But yeah, it's been terrible over the last 37 years, 38 years, I have to say, yeah. I've just been living this nightmare.
This is 37 years. These families deserve some sort of closure.
A tribunal of inquiry found, somewhat bizarrely really, that the probable cause was that it was started deliberately. So that finding that there was arson, effectively, was a source of enormous hurt and disbelief really among the families. And the insult really that their children had started the fire was immediately painful to them. There were inquests into the 48 deaths, and they were held in 1982, and each of those inquests lasted about 10 or 15 minutes and brought back just the medical causes of death.
It's got not too long, you know. Look, it's enough, like, you know.
We're having a candlelight vigil this evening, and we need as many people there to support the families and get justice for the 48 kids.
But these families deserve justice. 38 years without any answers, without justice, is too long for anybody to wait.
This is Ireland's greatest atrocity. It can never be accepted, and it isn't acceptable that the events of that night go unanswered and unaddressed. Annette Keegan, who was there that night, despite the passage of time, despite the endless reviews, despite the endless investigations, no statement was ever taken from Annette. And that gives the stark reality here. The reality is that this isn't a simple narrow chain of fresh evidence. There is an absolute catalogue of fresh evidence.
I think anybody who's familiar with the Stardust and remembers it will know that there's a class element to this, and exactly the same as in Hillsborough, in that these were working class kids from a working class community, and their lives were not worth as much as kids who were born on the other side of the tracks. And that's why the level of arson was ruled against them as well, to tar a whole community with that they were responsible for their own loved ones' deaths.
The campaign continued, and in 2019 a new avenue was opened up because the families applied for the inquests to be reheld on human rights grounds and in the public interest, not just in the interest of the families but in the public interest, that the truth had to be uncovered, that rumour had to be allayed, and that there had to be fresh inquests.
Paula Byrne, Coola.
Caroline Carey, Coola.
It's like a dream come true. It's not a nightmare that we've endured for the last 28 years. It's a dream that's reality, and we're on our way now to getting justice.
What's different about these are that they are starting from scratch. It is as if there has never been inquests before. They are looking at all the evidence afresh.
My mother lost 3 children. We lost our 3 siblings. Willie was 22, George was 18 and Marcella was 16. We want the truth to come out, one truth of how the 48 died that night. We don't have full closure on of exactly what happened. We want the truth to come out, how exactly the fire started, where it started, why they couldn't get out, why so many were injured, and someone accountable for what happened.
After 42 years waiting for this day, I'm very happy to be here. Shame on my government that we had to wait this length.
My brother Liam was the last to die. He died on the 11th of March 1981. He was an 18-year-old. So it was the saddest thing in the world to watch my mother just sit and cry and stare. No words, no words. Sure, we had no help. We were all left to our own devices. With truth comes closure, and I think it is in sight. There will be closure, but there also will be great sadness still, because forever young and forever missed.
I get the impression, speaking to the families, that they feel that for 42 years until these inquests started, they weren't listened to, they weren't respected, their children's lives were seen to not matter. I think the holding of these inquests at all is closure for the families. We owe it to them as a society to hear them and to respect them and to let their children rest in peace.